Good afternoon and welcome to the SSAT conference in Manchester. This afternoon's session is about collaborative learning and how innovative technologies can help improve attainment for children in the classrooms of today. I'm talking from our virtual school in Wrexham, which I'll show you in a few moments. And this afternoon will be about a series of video case studies showing how schools in Manchester have used our services to improve outcomes for children. So here's our virtual school in Wrexham. Come on inside and let's see what the teachers are up to.
Yeah, you've got it right, well done, the teacher, fantastic.
Tute is structured just like a school. We have a Director of Teaching and Learning, a Head of Pedagogy, a Head of Curriculum, subject heads below them, and then subject teachers. We have around 40 to 50 teachers overall, all of whom have worked in school, and all of whom can bring that experience into the service that we deliver today. So that's everything. I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen about Tute. We're now going to show you a live lesson, so sit back and see our teachers in action. Thank you very much.
Newell Green High School is a school in Wythenshawe. We have 900 students in the 11 to 16 age range and a sixth form of about 100 students. We have a large number of students on pupil premium, so free school meals and looked after children, probably about 50% of the school population. We are looking at using the BT Tute product with a school refuser, the student who in year 11 but hasn't really attended school since year 8. He's had various attempts at tutoring but none of these have been really successful. So we're going to try and use the Tute product to re-engage him with English and Maths with a view to sitting IGCSEs in English and Maths at the end of the year. We're also hoping to use the BT Tute product in the same way with other students who are on alternative provision. They spend most of their time out of school, but we are going to get them to come back in school once a week to do an English lesson and a Maths lesson using Tute, again with the aim of them sitting their IGCSEs at the end of the school year. We're also hoping to use the product with students who have English as an additional language. We have a few Eastern European students who have recently arrived, and while we have specialist learning support teachers who work with them, we feel that the Tute product will give them a different perspective and a different input to their teaching, and again will help them to come on and make some improvements. We also have in year 8 and year 11 very small groups of students that we term learning to learn. These are students who don't really function very well in mainstream and are at serious risk of exclusion. So they work with specialist teachers and teaching assistants, and we are hoping to use the BT Tute product to provide their maths teaching, because it's very difficult to prioritise a full maths teacher for such small groups, and we think the Tute product will fill that gap for us. In terms of how we're going to use the Tute product, we're going to make a lot of use of the virtual academy. These are the timetabled lessons at both key stages, where students or the teachers can just book them on for individual lessons through the week. So we're going to use these for the learning to learn students and for the non-attender. We're probably also going to use the virtual academy for the students on alternative provision. We're hoping to set up specially tailored lessons for the English as an additional language students and some of the students who attend a unit we have for other students at risk of exclusion. And we're hoping to start doing that in January and tailor maths lessons specifically at that age group.
Well, in terms of our community college, the offer has been ever expanding since we started at 2010, and last year we started English as an additional language, or as a second language for new arrival parents, especially the academy. We quickly realised that this was a city-wide issue in terms of that there's a one-year waiting list for ESOL, as it's called, in the city. So we worked hard to put something together for our parents, our families. In the summer, when we took on an EAL coordinator, we developed the offer further and looked to advertise for staff to be able to have more capacity within the EAL programme that we're offering, to expand it to the wider community because of this one-year waiting list. We had in the region of 70 adults put their interest forward for this. So clearly there was a real need to be able to recruit the staff to be able to, to cater for those needs of 70 people.
So we chose BT Tute as a teaching and learning resource to use within English because of a linked gap that we identified. First of all, we had a cohort of level 5 enters from Key Stage 2 who were struggling to bridge that gap between making critical exploratory responses in English literature to producing those evaluative responses needed to get the A&A star grades. In addition to this, because it's our first year of GCSE provision, we identified a gap in our team's subject knowledge. There seemed to be a fear around taking those high ability groups because our team are relatively inexperienced. So by using BT Tute, we managed to both support our learners and provide real-time CPD for our teachers as well.
So faced with these big numbers of 70 people wanting to do English, we didn't have all this qualified staff, if you like, so we wanted to give staff the experience to be able to work with adults at their various levels, and when we engaged with BT Tute, we wanted to work with them on how they can complement what we're already doing, so that it was really important for us that our staff maintain that face-to-face contact with English, build relationships with people, new arrivals to our community. So with the BT Tute, we looked at what else they could bring, and what we've come up with is that our staff face-to-face contact would steer towards relationships and learning towards day-to-day life in terms of their children, because many of them are parents of our students, and how to communicate with schools, for example, things like homework, things like exams. And BT Tute would look at focus on life skills for the adults. So for example, things like many of the new arrivals aren't in work at the moment, so looking at employability skills, looking at CV writing, interview techniques. So that was how Tute has enabled us to be able to have a wide range, if you like, as an offer for adults. So skills pertinent to their family, to their children, but also themselves in their progression in life.
So within the literature and language course at GCSE, the content is very heavy. So we managed to make sure that this particular cohort of students who were struggling to reach those A&A star grades could have an extra period of English on their timetable, and that was due to an early entry in a creative arts GCSE in year 10. With using BT Tute, it allowed us to run those sessions while English was being taught elsewhere, which meant that we don't necessarily need a specialist teacher to be in the room with them. So BT Tute allowed us to have that flexibility within our teaching and learning. The main thing for me that ensured that they complemented our own provision was the amount of communication that was possible between myself and the English team at BT Tute. The detailed information that they asked for about the pupils and the amount of information I could give them about the outcome that I wanted from them ensured that the programme of learning that they put together was exactly targeted and focused on the outcomes that we wanted for our students.
We really hope that this work with Tute will as I said earlier, will be able to enable us to accommodate more people, to support with this demand, help with the supply and demand side of things. So engage more people, and we hope that we can evaluate the progress by a range of methods. We'll be measuring the customer experience of working with Tute in terms of how they feel about doing it in this way, this online resource. We hope to see benefits in terms of them being more comfortable with IT, for example. We hope that the employability aspect that there will be, we'll be certainly monitoring their progression in terms of applying for jobs, for gaining volunteering experiences, work experience, and general employability skills, and their own perceptions of that as well. So there's some of the outcomes that we'll be looking at, evaluating and regularly monitoring through the Tute work, which we're really excited about, that we can see some really big gains from, big impact.
Through the facilitated discussion and online learning, the pupils have started to develop a much deeper knowledge of the text. Recall of quotations is improving and that textual evidence. But slightly more than that, they're starting to really synthesize the information to be able to back up evaluative arguments. For example, through their homework tasks and follow-up tasks, their class essays, their answers are starting to now push into that A&A star grade.
So by using BT Tute, we'll be regularly monitoring with our adults in terms of their progression, primarily with their communication skills, which is what it's about for the EAL learners, about their English skills, but also what added value that the curriculum has brought to them in terms of their personal progression and their day-to-day lives, really. So we'll be doing quantitative and qualitative impact measures with all the adult learners, and it'll be that feedback really that determines the success.
For me, the single most important thing in determining a successful outcome with BT Tute has been the amount of communication we had while the programme of learning was being devised. It's incredibly important that you know exactly the outcome that you'd want for your students, and to make sure that that's communicated effectively with BT Tute. Therefore, the programme of learning that they put in place will be exactly what your pupils need. Primarily for our pupils, with it being an English literature based learning programme, I felt the online community allowed the students to develop their confidence in discussions and being able to take that risk and give their opinion on a text and say something which is more creative and more imaginative than perhaps they would in a classroom environment. Similarly, a lot of these pupils have been taught by me for 3 years straight now, so it gives them the opportunity to access a different opinion on the text. Sometimes teaching English is so subjective that you can run the risk of pushing students down a particular interpretive route because that's what you believe about the text. However, this gives them a different insight and a different method of learning. More importantly than that, though, I think for our high ability learners, the independence which they have to show as they're accessing these resources and being part of this discussion group is ideal preparation for college-based learning and the type of learning that they might see in the future, with online classrooms being used in higher education and technologies being used more for learning when they leave the school environment.
So, some fantastic examples there of how we're actually enhancing learning outcomes in our case studies and how they're part of a BT Tute partnership scheme with MSA. Hello everyone, I'm Chris Thompson and I'm responsible for the management of our education strategy and propositions across BT Education. Now, you may naturally think of BT as purely providing calls and lines and broadband connectivity into schools. But over the last few years, we've moved to addressing this by focusing very much on learner engagement and learner experience, what we know as enhancing learning outcomes. We have numerous free resources focused on curriculum, and our new propositions are shaping the future of education. Now obviously, there are strong links into the core connectivity that is needed, as it's this connectivity that becomes a facilitator for access to good cloud technologies. As BT Education, we offer a true end-to-end proposition for learning. We provide the connectivity, the device, and importantly the content to drive attainment levels across the sector. We are extremely proud of our proposition BT Tute, as we have a material impact in the classroom, and have pleasure in introducing this to you today, with the desired attainment already being achieved in a couple of schools across the Manchester Schools Alliance. But today is not just about the classroom, it's how we can extend the learning into the cloud, through our Education Cloud Services platform. BT Tute is very much at the centre of our cloud strategy that we'll be showcasing further at BET in just a few weeks' time. We're also very much aware of the need to look at the procurement of BT Tute for schools. This is why I'm pleased to confirm that we can structure the payment options to suit, but generally we do so over phased payments and over 2 financial years. This gives some great flexibility in our approach and will allow you to measure and manage the impact we can achieve together. And lastly from me today, I would just like to confirm that everyone featured in the videos and the case studies is here today, in the flesh, and they can assist in providing as much further detail as required. We sincerely hope that you've enjoyed this video today, and we look forward to speaking with you all shortly about BT Tute. Thank you.